Jay says he's going to see Pink tomorrow. Yeah. Well, hey, everybody, it's Matt, and we're at Texas Toast Guitars. Thanks for tuning in to our weekly live stream, live at 5. We are the lucky Pierre slot right in between Ike and the guys at Flipside Music, the great American guitar store. And Dylan talks tone. Dylan and his lovely wife, Leslie, talk for hours weekly about guitar stuff, and kind of they have another hour that is just whatever you guys want to talk about, whether it's guitar stuff or actually I think the second hour is no guitar stuff, but it's all other interest things that Dylan and Leslie think are cool, whatever that happens to be that week that they're talking about.
Correct.
Chris. Yeah. So to my left, your right, of course, is Chris, and Chris is very busy all week with the final Les Paul workshop of the year. Chris, how's it going?
It's going well.
What do you think what do you think about the reveal for tomorrow?
I think people are really going to like it. I think we will be
Later than 5.
I think we can do the reveal at 5.
Okay.
I told everybody if not to feel rushed. If we need to stay later, we can stay later.
That is really
I think
thing.
Everybody
right?
will have a presentable guitar with 6 strings and 4 knobs.
What is it? Is there a downside to going on slightly later than 5? I mean,
no.
I mean, if
I could do that too.
I'm with you. I don't want to make anyone feel rushed, and then they get hurried, and you know how hurried hands can be.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. But I have no doubt that we'll have strings on guitars by 1. And
really?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know why we won't.
Okay. Well, if that's the case,
it
then
seems to be going pretty well. So
all right.
A bunch of pre-wiring. Did a bunch of fretwork today.
Loring wants to know if it's snowing, and Doc wants to know if we're going to be in tune by noon.
No, we're not going to be in tune by noon. Yeah. It might be snowing.
It's probably it's not snowing now, but yeah.
No,
but yeah, I have every reason to believe that
snowed.
We will be in tune by noon on Saturday, but I don't know about tomorrow. Right.
Yeah. I also told them if anybody wanted to come in, if they were around on Saturday, because there's an amp class going on, I would be glad, because I'll probably be here anyway.
Okay.
I would be glad to let them come in and we can work on their guitar on Saturday as well.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. Now, I don't know that anybody took me up on that.
Okay. Well, Bill and Zed will be at the amp thing, so they
can't.
Now it's a gigantic amount of work that you did it last time, and it's a different amp this time. So starting Saturday is
only like 4 wires more.
yeah, maybe. So this weekend we've got our okay. I know I'm going to upset somebody if I say the word plexi. We're building our British style amp. How about that?
JTM 45, I think.
But someone's going to bellyache about how it's not really 40. It's not really. Yeah. So we're building the British style amp.
Yes.
If you know about it, you're already here. And if you don't, then you can say whatever you want on the internet, but you're not here. So that's right. Okay.
Yeah. If you came and you educated us
about
where we're going wrong.
Well, in our terminology.
Yeah. And then maybe we could all learn something. Yeah. Instead of just you.
Not you mean mouthing me in the comment section.
Yes. Yeah. Because Matt, as a guy that knows a whole lot about how to build a guitar, you need to know about everything about amplifiers.
I need to know all the subtle nuances of amplifier terminology and phraseology. And Dastardly Dave sent us a super chat and says, ad free is for me. Brian made me do it. Speaking of Brian, Brian?
So he texted me last night and he says, I'm not going to make it tomorrow. I'll be in Friday. I was like, oh, okay.
That's cool.
And then as I was driving in this morning, I thought, I'll tell everybody that, Brian's not going to make it in today, but he'll be here tomorrow. Hey, everybody, Brian's not going to be here today. He'll be here tomorrow.
What do you suppose the likelihood of Dave's hot chicken for lunch tomorrow is?
Oh, man. Yeah, we should send him out.
Maybe Brian and I'll go and pick up DHC tomorrow.
Okay.
For lunch.
Okay.
So all you guys who are here, everybody who's in the workshop is here live in the studio tonight. And don't bring lunch tomorrow. We're doing Dave. John is already like, I don't know, Dave's Hot Chicken. So anyway, Dave's Hot Chicken.
There's two no's on Dave's Hot Chicken.
Who else is no?
Zed said no.
Oh, for Pete's sake. We had such high hope for you both. Doc sent us a super chat and says, beers for the brotherhood. Thank you so much, Doc. You know, we're going to go out tonight, and we don't know where we're going to go, but we might get some food and a drink.
So far, the best idea we came up with was
Taco Bell and a
BYOB.
six-pack. Yeah, okay. Well,
yeah.
Okay.
It's a terrible idea.
All right. Well, there's probably a meme in that, right? When a terrible idea is the best idea you have, I don't come up with something. Okay. So Bob Potter sent us a super chat because, of course, we are ad-free. All of our live streams are ad-free, and Bob Potter sent us a super chat because he's a nice fellow, because he's a good man.
Thanks, Bob.
Yeah. Dan says, tell them they can get mild, and it's great. Brian Carr says, hey, Matt and Chris, just got delivery on my new Challenger hardtail that I bought last week on the deal you had. Man, this thing is beautiful. Cool. Figured the best way to support. Buy one. You figured it's the best way to support you. Buy one. You rock. Thank you so much, Brian. So
good.
Brian was able to take advantage of
the
hardtail Challenger maple top level 2,
amber with the red mahogany
and
back and neck.
And that one was so good that that thing was positively off the charts. Excellent.
It was, yeah.
Unless you are that one guy who we won't name any names, but
who decided he didn't like us.
Yeah, but Brian, thank you very much, and I'm glad you got your guitar. I'm glad that you like it, and hopefully, so Brian is in Illinois, and I'm hoping that maybe he's got a rock and roll band and he wants to
rock and roll band.
He wants to rock and roll all night and part of every day. So, Brian, let me know what your band is called. 3J Music sent us a super chat for $5 and said, keeping it ad free. Thank you, my friend. Yeah. Well, Chris, I want to Greg said he almost stole it on Monday. Greg.
Nice.
So what we want to talk about tonight, Chris, is guitar trends that we think are on the way out.
Okay.
And Jay just sent us a super chat for $50 and said TTG rocks. Thank you so much, Jay. That is very kind of you, sir. And Jay's a veteran. He's got some Veterans Day stuff planned, and he's going to do some with pin routing.
Cool.
Hopefully he's going to celebrate. You know, he's a veteran, so hopefully he's going to celebrate, and maybe someone will go over there and help him get his new pin router fired up. He's got to run some 220s. He says he already got it, but he's got to go from the panel to the, that kind of thing. So anyway,
it's just 3 wires.
It's only 3. Yeah. I know he's going to love that new machine. So
cool.
Anyway, so we're talking about trends that we think are on their way out, and I couldn't fit everything in the thumbnail, trends that we would like to see on their way out. And I would like to know what you guys think. Now, for those of you who are in the shop, don't just holler it out, because it'll be chaos. It'll be anarchy. Yeah.
Yes.
So if you guys want to tell us what you think trends that you think are on the way out are, or trends that you would like to see go, please let us know in the comment section, or if you're here in the shop, you can tell us.
Okay.
However you want to do it. Do you have any to start with, Chris?
So you announced what the subject is, and you told everybody here. And Greg said Fender Acoustasonic guitars.
Now, I think that that's very telling because Greg owns a Texas Toast Icon. So basically what he just said to me was the Icon kicks butt and the Fender Acoustasonic blows dogs for quarters in back alleys.
Yes.
And nobody likes it.
Yes.
And they're pink.
Yes. And I said,
I don't know.
I said,
do they make a pink one?
I think those are among the ugliest guitars I've ever seen. And then I said, have you seen the Jazzmaster version? That is the ugliest guitar I've ever seen. And I was actually looking at those on Reverb because one of my keywords for searches is Jazzmaster. So
This pile of crap.
Yeah, no. So it has the word Jazzmaster in it.
Oh, okay.
And so they pop up and they're just always there.
Like people are selling them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm like, ugh, I really hate those. And then I said,
do you? Okay.
I think whatever Fender guitar is your favorite, whether it's a Telecaster, Stratocaster, Jazzmaster, whatever, the Acoustasonic version of your favorite Fender shape is probably the ugliest guitar you've ever seen.
Oh, okay. Okay. So if you like Strats, the Strat one sucks. And
Correct.
if you like okay.
Yeah. Maybe. Now I could be wrong, and somebody will be like, "No, I really like mine." Okay, that's cool.
I'm sure. I'm sure some people like
maybe
theirs.
Yeah. I can't quite find a home for that guitar as far as what it's supposed to do. So I don't know, but I think they look terrible.
Well, what is it about the Icon that is so excellent? And I don't really have a dog in this hunt.
Yeah,
I don't have an Acoustasonic.
Yeah.
To me, that I guess they remind me of the Kramer Farringtons from the late '80s, only not as cool, if that's even possible. And
yeah, and
I remember I was going to ask you. Now, do you guys think these are on their way out, or you just hate them so much that you hope they go away?
I can't imagine they're super popular.
Okay, given that so many of them are on Reverb for sale.
Well, yeah, and I think a lot of them are probably new.
Okay.
But I would be willing to bet Fender made way too many of them and the price goes way down.
Okay.
That's never cool. Especially if you bought one for full price. What else was I going to say? I don't know. The idea, it's the sound hole in them.
Okay.
I don't think it does anything. It's just there and it looks stupid.
Okay. All right. Well, let's come back to that because I think there's a lot more to go on the Acoustasonic. Glorified G says the Flying V. And I don't think the Flying V is on the way out, but I think that maybe that person really doesn't like the Flying V, which that's fair. Let's see.
I think there's always going to be room for Flying Vs.
I mean they've been around for what, 70 years now. So okay. They had a good run. If they're on their way out, they had a good run. Dan says he never really liked headless guitars. Won't miss them if they go. I think headless guitars have probably been on their way out since like the 80s, right?
Maybe, yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Since the
like, who's making a headless guitar now that is like, oh, everyone's like, oh, I got to get that one.
Well, I think
Fender Acoustasonic headless.
There's a lot of small guys that make headless guitars.
Okay,
we've seen several. We've seen some variations of that. There's lots of hardware.
I can tell you that there's not a lot of hardware actually.
No, but
like, who makes Hipshot
hardware? There's some Chinese stuff that's designed for that.
Okay, I get that. It's a thing, yeah. But I don't necessarily count like unless like Godot, and Godot probably makes something, but
I guarantee they do.
Like, can you go on the Stuart McDonald website?
Yeah.
And by the way, if you use the discount code below, we get a little taste of that from Stu Mac. But if you go to the Stuart McDonald website, like, how much headless guitar stuff is there?
How much do you need? A nut and some tuners.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, because you're right. Some of it is like, well, it's got the same pickups and it's got the same. But yeah, you need to have the a bridge and some way to anchor the strings on each side, or at least one side, right? So anyway,
you remember that headless guitar that Jesse made?
No.
Okay, it had at the headless part, it had a string retainer thing that looked like a moose knuckle.
Oh, okay.
It was weird. Actually, it looked like a femur bone.
Now, I suppose that if you really wanted to make a guitar with no headstock, you could just put those like string through ferrules in the blob on the end, and then put regular tuners on the ass end of the guitar somehow, and that would. It's not exactly a brand new thing, but
that's kind of how Devin did his. It's strung. It was backwards strung. It wasn't really headless.
Okay.
And then he had that bridge that had the tuners on the bridge.
Sean Joint says that the Icon looks classy, and Jim Murray says he still has a Kramer Farrington.
Well, there you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
3J Music says, I tried 2 Acoustasonics and they were both terrible. One had the worst fret sprout I've ever seen, ever. That's probably saying a lot too, because I think 3J Music's probably seen a buttload of guitars come through.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I remember the original Acoustasonics with the helicopter backs. And I remember seeing them and thinking, well, that's not too terrible. It looked better than the new things, I think.
Okay.
Even though it still had a sound hole in it. It looked more like a Kramer Farrington too, as far as
it wasn't quite
as I don't know. They're kind of hippie.
Okay.
You know.
All right. So there's a lot of people giving good things, or waving good riddance to things that I think they hate. I'm trying to catch up on all of them. Silver Bushman says cheap crap is going out. Jay says, still learning what I do and don't like. So if you guys are giving it away, I'll take it. Stringwood Guitar says, it seems like active pickups are on the decline. Eric and Dan Andreas are I think we're talking about relics and how they're not for them, and factory relics and things like that.
Yeah.
Lauren Court has a very controversial one, I think, and that is the PRS Silver Sky.
Okay.
And okay, I want to
way out.
I want to pause on this one.
Something that he just doesn't like.
Well, it could be that it's that he doesn't like it, but I think it's actually very telling that Paul Reed Smith started making that Silver Sky whenever that the company started making that, and they are already making the Telly version. I suspect they're not making the Telly version because the Strat version sold so well. I could be wrong.
I think they're making the Telly version because the Strat version did sell so well.
I think they're making it because they sold all the Strat ones that they can possibly sell, and now they're like, well, let's do the Telly market now. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's just, I have no idea. I do not have my finger on the pulse of the Paul Reed Smith marketing department. Okay.
I think they make those guitars for Paul Reed Smith buyers. Well, and if you only buy so many Paul Reed Smiths and then start going, well, I already have that one, or I already have that shape. I have 4 of that shape. I have 5 of that shape.
I have 15.
We need another shape.
Yep.
Yeah. And they have a bunch of shapes where it's like, well, what's that?
Such as?
Well, I'm not a PRS guy, but I see some of them. I'm like, well,
they don't have like the Bootsy Collins Starbase PRS.
No, and they don't have so many shapes, but they have a couple of shapes where I'm like,
yeah.
Well, why are you making that?
Now, do you think that
isn't that sort of covered in some of this other stuff?
Okay, so it might be. So of course the classic Paul Reed Smith, what I would call the Custom 24.
Yeah.
The McCarty is very similar to that. Then they have the single cutaway, and of course they got sued by Gibson because that Gibson said, no, everyone's going to think those are Les Pauls. Yeah. No one's going to think they're Les Pauls. Then they came out with and I'm jumping around here a little bit. The Silver Sky, the Strat version. Yeah. And then, of course, now we have the whatever the Telly is called. I don't know, and I don't care.
What about the? Don't they have one is it the Novo? Is it the Nova? The Flora? The Flovo? I
don't know, but you're hold on. You're derailing me a little bit. Okay. Here. Do you remember in the Billy Gibbons Rock and Roll Gearhead book, he has what appears to be and what he claims is a Paul Reed Smith Explorer.
Oh yeah,
it's got the Paul Reed Smith headstock, and it's all white. Now, again, you never know with Billy Gibbons if he's telling tales or if he. But I can tell you that if anybody could have a Paul Reed Smith Explorer, it would be Billy Gibbons. How much longer before Paul Reed Smith goes to makes a pointy guitar? Do you remember they made what essentially was their custom, and they made it for one of the guys from Anthrax, and it had a different headstock, and it was camo. Do you remember that one?
Remember that one?
Okay, Zed remembers that one.
Okay,
yeah, okay, all right. Well, there's lots of anyway. All right, I'm going to try to catch up. Joey Dano Guitar sent us a super chat and says, seems like I might finally shoot gloss on my SG class build, humidity coming down. I think that means I think I'm going to finally shoot high gloss paint on my SG. Humidity is coming down. Thank you. Doug, that's awesome. And by the way, I talked to Mike Learn today, and your guitar is going over there for graphic work on Monday, sir. Okay. 3J Music says, on the way out, $500 to $1,000 guitars. It's either Chinese Amazon guitars or $1,000 plus Indonesia and beyond.
Okay.
How do you feel about that? You think there's a tariff thing that's coming down the...
Well, yeah, I do think that that's actually going to happen. I don't know if Indonesian guitars are going to be part of that or not.
Okay.
I know Chinese guitars would be. I think that's actually a good thing.
Okay.
It's certainly a good thing for people like us who sell better guitars. When the price gap starts
it gets
getting
closer,
smaller, people I think start going, well, for a little bit more, I could actually get American made by two fabulously entertaining gents
and wildly handsome too.
Well, yeah.
Oh, I don't think that our prices are gonna go up dramatically because hardly anything that we use is imported.
Right.
Not saying that nothing that we use is imported, but like, okay, for example, though, I always tell everybody on like our level 1s and level 2s, we outsource that to the United States.
Yeah.
Like we didn't outsource our any of the guitar work that we have done to Asia or Mexico or somewhere else that may or may not have a tariff. I don't have a dog in the political hunt. I'm just saying, So you're right, Chris. Wouldn't it be something if the and you'll never be able to. It would be, how about this? It would be very hard to tariff past slave labor, and what I mean by that is a guitar that is the exact same guitar built by American workers versus built by somebody in Indonesia or Vietnam or somewhere is going to cost less.
Yeah.
And it's also not going to be comparing apples to apples because it's not the same guitar.
No.
I was asking Ike about that this week. I'm like, how close is, the least expensive American made Fender versus the most expensive Squire, like in terms of build quality and things like that. And it's not quite the same, but there's about $1,000 difference is what he was saying.
From American to top end Squire.
Yeah. And I realized top end Squire is kind of a relative term.
During the pandemic, they were commanding some price. They were asking some fairly high prices for some limited edition runs and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean
limited edition Squire?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
And they would be $500, $600, $600, $599. There was a bunch of stuff that were anniversary things that they only made so many of. Anniversary
Squire and limited edition Squire those terms hit my ear funny.
Well, I mean, it's limited to how many they can sell.
It's sort of like limited edition Yugo.
Yeah, well, but a color that they never do, and a few appointments that they never do, and they do a run of them, and that's that. It's just like Fender does that stuff all the time. Gibson does that stuff all the time too.
But that's Gibson and Fender, and so for some reason or another, it hits my ear less funny.
But I mean, I would be willing to bet the Fender Squire family sells more Squires than Fenders.
I would imagine you're right.
Yeah.
Driddle says, I hope that all the sites that sell fakes get shut down in the USA. So he's hoping that
would be
fake guitars are on their way out.
Yeah. Oh, can you imagine how many my Chibson's just as good as videos are just going to stop?
No, now it will be, I have a custom limited edition, highly coveted and sought after Chibson that they don't make anymore. Yeah, I have one of the good ones. And now my $100 Chibson is all of a sudden worth 100 times that because you can't bring them in anymore.
Sure.
Okay. Well, Chris, let me ask you this question. What is the best way to get Americans to want something?
Tell them they can't have it.
That's right. Tell them they can't get it anymore. So if that is universally true, if Americans can't get Chibsons anymore, are they going to go, man, I got to get one of those pre-band Chibsons? Is that a
maybe?
thing?
Yeah. Well, hopefully all the Chibson guys will hold on to them.
Hopefully they will. Yeah.
And won't show them to me.
They'll just polish them up and
let them be.
Yep.
Feel smug in their knowledge that they saved a bunch of money and are the coolest kid.
3J Music says $1,000 Chibsons on reverb. Is that a real thing, or is he just
I think he's going along with you.
Okay, all right.
That, yeah. Well, have you ever heard of a serviceman's guitar?
I don't believe I have.
So during Vietnam, in the Philippines, they had villages that would make copies of mostly Fenders.
Okay.
And these GIs would buy them. That's why they called them serviceman guitars. And a lot of them, some of them look kind of like the guitar they're supposed to be.
Khyber Pass Stratocasters.
Other ones don't look much like them at all.
I realize Khyber Pass isn't in Vietnam.
And those guitars used to be no money at all, like $50-$60.
Mm-hmm.
And then the idea that, there's only so many of them, you don't see them very often. And so all of a sudden they're like more money. Okay. And most of them are unplayable, I think.
You and I have talked about the collector market for guitars that if they weren't bubbled up by home guitar builders, how much money they'd be worth, but they're already basically ruined, and how neat it is that you've got these like EBOs and with like Fender P-bass EMG pickups jammed shoehorned into them and Leo Kwan badass
Never
bridges.
Seen that guitar.
Yeah.
Never seen that bass.
Or the Kramer aluminum neck guitar with a great big piece of like fake jive pick guard on there and a bunch of weird crap loaded into it that like doesn't have any business being there, and all the really nice koa that the guitar was made out of is all beat up and hammered but like, not to restore those, not to bring them back to their glory, but to revel in their in how absurdly terrible they are.
Yeah.
How collectible it would be to have these turds
so sometimes
the turds of misery.
I know that band.
Yeah.
Sometimes the story's better than the guitar. And
you're right.
I know the EBO that you're talking about, and I know the guy, and I know how nice it turned out.
And we brought that bass guitar back to life. Yeah.
There were several other things that you could have done with that guitar. We could have just fixed the neck and maybe refretted it and called it a day.
Yeah.
Left all the stuff.
But what he really wanted was all the Fender pickups gone from it.
Yeah. And
all the EMGs. They weren't EMGs, but yeah.
Yeah. So he had a DiMarzio. They call that pickup. Well, yeah, he had that, but then he had the original Mudbucker that was in it. He had a DiMarzio version of that.
Yeah.
Like a Super D looking. Yeah. Mudbucker in it.
And that Kramer aluminum neck bass that had all the EMG crap in it. I bought that and restored it.
Yeah. Yeah. But sometimes it's better to just let them be what they were.
It's funnier.
Yeah. And I guess it depends on just what it is. If it's, a strip Telecaster with all the original shit and somebody sanded it down.
Yeah, that's not,
and fix that. But
yeah, I don't care what Boulder Bob does to his Jazzmaster. It's not entirely humped over.
But it's, so I had that neighbor that kept bringing over that Telecaster, that early 60s Telecaster that somebody chopped a big hole in to put a Charlie Christian pickup in. Apparently that was the thing that people did for a while. And he never did do anything with it. But he'd show it to me every once in a while. It's like, okay.
Ain't it cool?
And
not really.
Well, and it would have been cool if he'd put it back together. He had all the parts, had the Charlie Christian pickup for it, I think. Okay. Maybe not. But yeah, he should have just put it back together. But it was always, I'm gonna, restore this. I'm gonna redo it. And that was the hang up. So it was less of a guitar sitting in his basement in a box than it was if he slammed it together and kept it the way he bought it.
Okay. All right. Guitar Doc 71 DC says, I want them to stop making fake guitar restoration videos where they just clean up a guitar that they made dirty. I hate those bloody things. Okay, I got a confession to make. When I leave here and go home, I don't watch guitar stuff. So I don't really know what's on YouTube for guitar.
I have seen, I think there's one video in particular. It's like there's no talking. This guy's walking along. He opens an old barn door, and there's a guitar tucked in the back, and he takes it home and he cleans it up. Turns out it's it's a Fender Road Worn from like 2018.
Oh, okay.
Because you can tell because of the wear pattern on the neck. They're all the same, and it stops at like the 9th fret or something like that, and there's no more wear up the neck. And everybody that knows looks at it and goes, "That's a Road Worn."
Okay.
Yeah, but it's a cleanup video.
Isn't it funny how relic guitars, they only relic some stuff?
Yeah, which I think it's almost like he flocked it with grass clippings, and cleaned that off. People are like, it was like what's that tarnish that pewter gets? It's kind of that greenish looking stuff.
I know
it
you're
was all
talking
over
about
the guitar,
some oxidation,
and they're like, no, guitars don't.
Okay.
And I'm like, yeah, I think
maybe in a barn they do. I don't know.
In a barn in England.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I submit to you that I still think that every relic Les Paul should have a busted headstock that's repaired with those splines in the back
and a stinger.
Now, I don't know about this, and I can't imagine that it would be something anybody would want or do. Are relic guitars, are the frets worn on those? Like, do they take them, mash them in, and like beat them with a hammer and kind of get like dings in the cowboy chord area?
They should.
They could.
That's
okay.
One of the things that makes an old guitar play so nice is the frets are all blown out.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know. Okay. Rusty Shackelford says, I think the videos of pretending to not know how to play guitar, then shredding, are thankfully already played. I don't know about those.
Yeah.
Okay, so now everyone's talking about beer, and so we can we'll come back to you guys.
Yeah, so this is off topic, but
okay,
I think videos of people rescuing dogs, those are all fake.
Do you?
Yeah, they're all set up, and they should stop.
Based on what?
I mean, really.
What about Sarah McLaughlin's videos where she's singing and the dogs are totally miserable?
Probably real rescues.
Oh, okay.
But I was just driving down the road and I saw this bag.
Oh.
And it was full of there was a puppy in it.
I hope
so. So you put your new puppy in a bag, and then you drove away, and then you drove back to the dog and filmed it. Okay.
I hope.
Yes, that's way too good of it. I guarantee that's happens.
Well, I hope that's not what's
terrible.
Happening. Okay.
Yeah.
I can hope that's not what's happening. Yeah, I don't know that I'm. Yeah.
Rescuing guitars.
Well, so what do you think is a trend that's on the way out? Let's get to some hard hitting ones here.
Know.
Double locking tremolos out, gone. I bet you they're on the way out. What do you bet?
I think that's one of those things. We know a guy that thinks the only guitar that people want is double locking tremolos.
But Brad Gillis isn't exactly selling a lot of guitars these days. Does
Brad Gillis even use a double locking tremolo? His original one didn't. It was a
in the "Don't Tell Me You Love Me" song. There's some of that. There's a lot of that, and I think that when he was playing with Ozzy, he probably didn't have a double lock. Just me saying that.
Yeah.
All I have to do is mention Brad Gillis when he played with Ozzy. Someone, probably Sean Joint, will be like, "Oh, actually, here's what Brad used." I'm calling Sean might not know. I don't know.
Yeah.
But somebody will know, and they'll.
It's never been my favorite thing.
Brad Gillis?
No, double locking tremolos.
Okay, I love them. I think they're cool.
I think it's a knee-jerk reaction to a poorly set up guitar.
Here's my problem though with they're just so big. I kind of like the smallness and compactness of not double locking stuff.
Yeah.
But I play so infrequently and I whammy so even less frequently that to me it's like you could probably take that stuff off and it won't really matter. Yeah.
Sure.
I don't like I don't like how difficult a double locking tremolo system, whammy bar system is to get set up correctly. And what I mean really is tune it unless you are using the micro tuner things are cool, but it's just more crap on the ass end of the guitar.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we've irritated enough people. Let's see
I thought that stuff would go away a long, long time ago, and then it started coming back.
It did?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean,
says who besides Brad Gillis?
on any
No.
guitars? I mean, was Jackson a thing 10 years ago, 12 years ago, 15 years ago?
Keep going.
Old Jacksons?
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't think so. No, not in the 80s.
Okay.
That was more years than 10 years ago, Zed.
It was more than 10 years ago.
You know, in 1995, I don't think anybody wanted a Floyd.
95, probably not.
And yeah, through whatever. So except for the guys that did, but for a while,
you could say that those guys already had those guitars.
Well, yeah, they did. But
man, I need a new pointy guitar with a Floyd Rose.
I need a new pointy guitar with Floyd Rose. So
Lauren Court is coming to my rescue, letting me know that Brad's Floyd was the third one made, and he still buys every early one that he can find. Brad Gillis and Vinnie Vincent. There you go.
Yeah.
Apparently, Vinnie Vincent liked the ones with no fine tuners.
Yeah.
Which seems like the dumbest of the dumb things to have.
Yeah. I think those original ones probably didn't have the locking nut either. I think it was just because I think it was more about travel of the trim.
I think they had the whole double locking trim has to be double locking,
very
right?
beginning.
Yeah. I don't know.
The post screwed directly into the wood.
No, they went through. Remember all the old double locking nuts went through the
back on the actual bridge itself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Not
Okay. Jay asks a good question. He says, what about a finish or color that's on its way out? I can tell you a finish that is on its way in is definitely a satin finish and something on ash that maybe even where you try to make the in deepen the like sandblast or media blast the soft heartwood to or I don't know if it's heartwood at that point, the softer stuff make that grain even more
pronounced.
Exactly. Okay. I think that you'll be seeing a lot more of that lately, whether you like it or not.
Okay.
Just because it's an easier finish to do that requires less work to get right. I think Sandberg Guitars does a lot of that stuff, and I think they look neat.
Okay.
So, what do you think is a finish though that's on its way out?
A finish that's on its way out.
I'm betting that in the future you will see fewer and fewer high gloss paint jobs because they're more expensive.
Yeah.
And if the cost of everything is going up, and really high gloss paint jobs that look good, that's the key. That's all. It's really expensive to buy a robot to buff it, or you got to pay somebody to buff it. Either way, it costs money to buff it, and I think that you'll see less and less of those.
Okay.
What say you?
Yeah, it sounds right.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't think about. I think about what we do, and that's about it.
All right. What about the Nuno Betancourt all oil finish everything?
Lord. Yeah. No.
Well, which is it? Yeah or no?
People. There are. I don't know that anybody actually believes that, or not a lot of people believe that anymore.
I know two people who believe it.
Yeah,
Nuno Betancourt and Boner Bob. Yeah. You think Boner Bob watches this show?
No, I hope he doesn't.
I don't think he does.
I had a really good conversation several weeks ago.
That's good.
I don't know. Something that I think that I would like to be on the way out is the I'm trying to think of how to say this. Just shut up and play your guitar.
Okay.
It's fun to nerd out about some of this stuff, but there are people that's all they do.
Man, I got news for you. I don't think that's going anywhere.
To the point. Well, there's nerding out, and then there's just obsessing over stuff, right? And some obsession is fine, but at some point you got to go, cool. I'm going to move on. JTM 45 Plexi.
Jerry F asks a very good question.
Okay.
And he wants to know, what's the finish on that LP on the wall? Well, Jerry, the LP that's on the wall behind Chris there, to Chris's left, not only is a finish that that you might be interested in, but that's also a guitar that is probably on the way out. I don't think you'll see a lot more of those. Further into that end, I don't think you'll see a lot more of these. I think these guitars are on the way out. So you want to grab that one?
No, it's too heavy. Yeah, my shoulder
Come on, Chris. Yeah. All right, so these are both guitars that I built out of stuff quite literally from Home Depot. The one that Chris is holding is made out of CDX plywood, and it's about 5 years old now. And the one that I'm holding is actually made out of 2x4s from Home Depot that are about 5 years old now because they were in the shop for a long, long time.
Yeah, it was a bench that we tore apart and you repurposed it.
Yeah. So if you can see, the neck on this and the neck on the one Chris is holding are actually also made out of, in the case of the one I'm holding, made out of 2x4s, and the one that Chris is holding is made out of CDX plywood.
Yeah.
The whole shooting match. I haven't seen a lot of plywood guitars lately. Have you?
No.
No, I mean, they seem to be, I remember for a while, they were like, that was the thing. You want me to take this from you? Like plywood guitars. Now, remember back in the day, the plywood wasn't oriented this way.
Right.
It was going the other way so that it was easy. This is actually laminated to look like a bunch of laminations, which I think was really funny. But yeah.
It is funny, and it's actually a neat looking guitar, and it's got a very unique finish on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Dylan is the one that assembled that finally.
Mm-hmm.
You got so far with it, and then we just sort of
I'm like, I'm out. Yeah.
It was hanging on the wall for a year, but yeah, I don't know why they don't make guitars out of plywood anymore. It must be that, well, it's got to be that plywood isn't any cheaper than regular wood.
At this
That's the
point,
only reason to change up, right?
Yeah.
It's not because the public demands that we use real wood on our $179 Firefly. Yeah. You know? The funny thing about plywood is I don't think a lot of people realize certain guitars are made out of plywood, always have been, always will.
Such as
335s.
Okay, yeah.
Gretches.
Almost every Gretsch, with a handful of exceptions. Yeah.
Lots and lots and lots of arch tops are made out of plywood.
Yeah. I think though that plywood solid bodies are, I haven't seen one for a long, long time.
No, not a new one. I don't think.
Sean says, if a 2x4 is carved into a guitar and an opaque finish is applied, is it still a 2x4? No, at that point, it's a guitar made out of 2x4s.
Yeah. I thought he was going to ask if it falls over in a forest. What kind of tone do you get?
Yeah. So do you think okay, so some people were asking about the tonewood debate. Is the tonewood debate on its way out?
I think there will always be some of that floating around. Mm-hmm. Somebody will come out with a new study or a new thing that completely debunks what everybody's thinking right now, that it's not really that big of a deal.
My hope is that for 2025, and this is a video for another in a couple of months, but my hope for 2025 is that people will latch on to what I have been saying about tonewood for many, many years now, which is that yes, it's a thing, and no, it's not quite as important on a solid body electric as it is an acoustic instrument.
Okay,
how about that?
Sure.
Tonewood is absolutely a thing. If it weren't, there wouldn't be the same woods used over and over and over on violins and cellos and things like that.
Okay.
But on holding up a piece of 8-quarter lumber and tapping it is not the same as voicing a soundboard.
Yeah.
That there's just no two ways about it.
I've started, when I go on walks around the neighborhood, I just knock on everybody's tree.
Sure, knock on everyone's door. Maybe they'll give you candy. Okay. Loring wants to know a little bit about the neck workshops in December.
Okay.
And I think so the essential guitar building classes, they're not workshops, they're classes. You start with a pile of wood, and we really deep dive into some specific elements of whatever it is that the class is geared towards. So the first one that we're doing is necks. What's funny?
I was going to say, so for instance, in the neck class, what are you going to deep dive into?
Yes. Neck stuff. Okay. So let's focus on the neck building.
Okay.
Essential guitar building workshop class, necks.
Okay. Neck edition.
There's 2 parts. Let me see if you can guess which one it is. Part one and part B. That's right.
And gold. Is there a gold section?
Stop. You're already confusing everybody. So part 1 and 2. In part 1, you will build 2 necks. One is your practice neck that will never ever be a neck, but you will glue a fretboard on, you will fret it, you will shape it, you will make all the mistakes that you can possibly make on it. And let's just say it's going to be a Telecaster neck. Okay. And then you will also build an actual Telecaster neck. Okay. But it will have a truss rod and it will have frets and it will be, it'll be good wood. It will have, good frets. You'll be doing the whole thing.
Okay. What about the practice neck? What kind of wood will that be?
It'll probably be a lousier grade of maple.
Lousier good wood.
Yeah.
Not as nice good wood.
Yeah, it's not going to be poplar. It's not going to be a 2x4.
Why is that?
Because you can't make a neck out of a 2x4 and go, yes, this is exactly what it's like to carve on maple.
This will feel exactly the same as when I start cutting it out of maple from start to finish.
That's right. So anyway, and so that's what you'll do in the part 1. Part 2, you will actually take your practice neck, pull all the frets out of it, and put all new frets into it, and see what it's like to do that. Further into that end, you will also design a set neck, and you will build a set neck out of mahogany with a rosewood fretboard. So the idea is that over the course of 6 days, you'll actually build 3 necks, but that's all you're going to do. Ask me how much finish you're going to put on them.
How much finish are you going to put on
None.
them?
Ask me how many bodies you're going to build to go around these necks.
How many bodies are you going to build?
None. Ask me how many nuts you're going to build. And
how many nuts are you going to do?
0. We're not going to do any of that stuff because all we're going to focus on in 6 days is building 3 necks. Now, if you want to build a body, or if you want to do nut work, if you want to do setup, or if you want to do paint, if you want to do any of that stuff, those classes are coming. I say workshop so often that it's odd for me to use the word class, but these are absolutely classes, and they're absolutely all going to be handwork, the old school way.
Yeah.
You'll be using some routers, but for the most part, it's going to be all hand tools, all the old school stuff. You're not going to use the pin router. You're not going to use the deadhead sander. It's just all the stuff that everybody says they love. Nobody likes it.
Yeah.
They secretly don't like it, but they say they love it. So that's, would you say that kind of, is that all encompassing for what these classes are going to be? Okay.
Yeah.
How do you know that the practice neck will never actually be a neck?
There is talk. Well, for one, it's not going to have a truss rod. You could maybe
somebody is going to say that Fender used to make necks with no truss rods
for red hot minute.
Yeah.
And most of those got shipped back, and there are no longer necks. There is talk that you are going to, after you make the neck, over sand the neck, go too far, and possibly cut it in half.
Yeah.
Now,
I want so many mistakes to get made on the practice neck that it's just so not worth it to try and salvage it. And plus, it doesn't have a truss rod.
Yeah, it doesn't have a truss rod, and you're gonna pull all the frets out of it the next class.
I'm hoping that the side dots are go
We're
1, 2,
gonna-
3,
we're
4,
gonna
5, or yeah, like 3,
Mhm.
5, 7, 9, 11,
11,
14.
47,
Yeah, I'm hoping
Yeah.
side dots and face dots
Uh-huh.
get put in the
Yeah.
wrong spots.
Yeah, we're gonna do that. Yeah, I'm hoping the best case scenario for that neck
Mhm.
is you take it home and you hang it on your garage wall or your shop wall, and every time you look at it, you go,
I wish I had a wood stove.
yeah. You go, I'm a lot better at it now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Robert Baker wants to know, if you don't make any mistakes on the practice neck, do you have to do it again?
Yes.
I don't anticipate anyone's going to do that.
Not make a mistake.
Yeah, first of all, so like, for example, if you're already a guitar builder, this isn't for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you're so good at making necks that you don't make any mistakes, this probably isn't for you. This is for people who are really want to kind of start getting good at actually making things.
Yeah.
Hey,
are we gonna have them put the truss rod channel in it, even though it doesn't have a truss rod?
No, not on the
practice
not
neck?
on the practice
Okay.
neck. No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Although, you know what, it might not be a bad
It
idea.
might not be a bad idea. That's a big step.
It's
in
really a time issue.
doing it. Yeah, it is.
I think that what will probably happen is we'll probably start on day one with like getting the practice neck kind of going. And then if we need to practice routing truss rod channels,
you get two more
that.
chances to do that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and you don't have to route the truss rod channel on the practice neck. You know what I mean? I
just thought of that.
I would much rather get like the practice neck going so glue can dry. Because remember, it's 3 days.
Yeah.
So I'd really like to have that neck get in the get down the road a little bit before we worry about truss rod channel. If somebody needs to practice routing a truss rod channel, we can do that just on a board, or we can do it on 100 boards. We can do it, many times it'll make your head spin.
Yeah, it's not a big deal.
Okay. Loring, I hope that
that would add to the pain though of somebody would smuggle in a truss rod and slip it in the neck.
Yeah. Loring wants to know, will we do inlay on the necks? If you consider dots to be inlay, then yes. If you are thinking that in 6 days you can build 3 necks and put a bunch of wild inlay on them, probably not. But dots, sure, go crazy. All right, let's see what's going on here. Kenny says, I agree that mistakes is how you learn, but on a neck, really? I think Kenny, I'm having trouble following you here. I think really you need to make a bunch of mistakes on necks. And if you only have one neck to make every mistake on, you're going to have a kind of a dorked up neck. Yeah. If you make 3 necks and one of them, I fully intend to have be the most miserable excuse for a neck possible. That's kind of what I hope. I hope that you make a bunch of mistakes on that.
So we used to do in all the classes, even if they didn't cut out the neck shape, they shaped the back of the neck using hand tools and rasps and files and all of that.
I'm really looking forward to everyone doing radius on their fretboards, the old school way.
Yeah.
If you want to see you know what? I will.
We're going to have to get better measuring tools.
If someone wants to show up and tell me that there's no mistakes on a fretboard that they radiused by hand, there's no way.
Okay.
There's no way. I'm not saying you can't get it really close, but to have it be completely mistake free, there's no way.
Okay.
Have you ever seen it?
No.
I haven't either. I've never ever seen it done. So I can tell you that people with $500,000 machines have trouble doing it. So to say that
it was just the one time. I can tell you that. Yeah, we once said it's almost impossible to screw this up.
Yeah.
Oh, you screwed it up with a really good machine.
Yeah.
How'd you do that? Were you looking at what you were doing when you did that?
Yeah, Solaris Moon. If you're making that many necks in one day, then yeah, I don't think this is for you, and that's okay. This is for people who are wanting to get good. Rusty Shackelford has a great question.
Okay.
Is a radius necessary?
No.
Absolutely not. In fact, I'm a huge fan of the infinity radius.
The infinity radius.
It's
yes.
a concept that you and I pioneered many years ago.
It was really fun, and
we pioneered it just like all the people who made classical guitars.
Yeah.
Centuries before.
I'm actually kind of bummed that guitar is not still floating around.
We should make another one.
Yeah. We should absolutely do another one. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one was fun. That was a little bit of a rush job. If we actually spent more than, and I guess I think I did level the frets.
What was the best part about the infinity
radius? I didn't have a call. Yeah. The best part of the infinity radius was handing that guitar to people, letting them play it, and they can't figure out what's wrong with that guitar or what's different with that guitar.
Yeah, they could not tell.
To the guy, nobody could figure it out. And they played and played and played, and they played and played and played. And then you told them, and almost every one of them said, well, it'd be a good slide guitar.
Yeah, you were just playing it for a half hour.
Yeah, half hour. Did all sorts of stuff on it. Now it's not only all
of a sudden it's relegated to the slide. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that I don't know what most of the Ibanez Artist Series guitar. They're probably 16, 300 millimeter or something like that.
There's a lot of 20
they're
stuff floating around.
Probably very, very close to flat. I don't know why they don't just go all the way flat.
Yeah,
frankly,
it's funny because it makes your life a whole lot easier with a whole bunch of the.
If you like bending, then
I actually put my thumb over the top of the E string and just started bending it like the 7th fret. Broke the string. It never did
fret out.
Yep. Broke the string. Yeah. So
okay.
Yeah, and the action was low, and I don't. Oh, and the hard part though was bar chords. No, it wasn't hard.
Van Shank guitar. No, the pin router is not a $500,000 machine. I've seen people with $500,000 CNC machines hand me fretboards that were allegedly radius that were way off
from what they were supposed to be.
This is supposed to be 10, and it actually looks like 9.5 here. And it should, if you have a $500,000 CNC machine and you say it's a 10-inch radius, by golly, I think it ought to be 10.
Yeah.
So, let's see. Silver Bushman, what power tool should I buy first? I guess if you want to start building guitars, you want to buy a power tool, a really good router would be a great one to buy first.
Okay.
And a sander will save you some time.
Mm-hmm. Bandsaw.
A bandsaw is not a bad one. Although it's been a while since I've told this story, and we've got a few minutes, but just a few. A bandsaw is a tool that if you don't have a lot of money to spend on tools, and I realize that's not what this person said. They didn't say, I don't have a lot of money. What should I buy first? But a bandsaw is one of those things where a lousy bandsaw is a lousy investment. I would much rather find somebody who owns a cabinet shop near you. There is someone, and pay them rent and use their bandsaw, use their joiner, or use their planer, or use their thickness sander.
Yeah.
Something. Yeah. If you go on Friday with a case of beer to a cabinet shop, make friends with someone who works there. I would guarantee you that for money, they will let you use some of their tools. And I would much rather do that until I can get a good bandsaw than buy a craptastic bandsaw from Lowe's or Home Depot or somewhere.
Yeah.
The Porter cable bandsaws that they used to have at Lowe's or Eagle or wherever, those aren't the same Porter cables that they had back in the 80s. They're not the same tool. Find someone who's got a decent bandsaw. Now, if what you're asking me is, I'm loaded, what should I buy first? Yeah, now we're talking. You're going to need a good joiner. You're going to need a bandsaw. You're going to need an edge sander. You're going to need a bunch of routers. You're going to need a planer. You're going to need a thickness sander. You're going to need a spindle sander. You're going to need all kinds of stuff. If you can afford a CNC machine, get one. If you can afford, or if you have access to a pin router, or somebody you know has a pin router, get one. Buy every single tool that StewMac sells. But I don't think that when people say, what should I get first? That's generally not, I have unlimited money. What should I get first? Frankly, if you have unlimited money, you're probably not watching me. You're probably blowing unlimited money on all kinds of really cool tools.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
All right. Well, it's 6:00. We need to go because
right.
Dylan is taking over. So guys, thanks for hanging out with us. We'll see you tomorrow for a reveal.
Tomorrow for a reveal.